Good morning, Year 4. Today's Thursday, the 11th of February, and this video is going to be for your writing book. And your learning question for today is, can I consider the different purposes of a text? So today you're going to need your writing book, your Year 4 one. So just make sure that you've got that and obviously something to write with. Okay, just before we start today's lesson, I want you to have a go at this warm-up. Now, I've written this piece of text, but I think I've made some spelling mistakes. So I want you to have a go at correcting my spelling mistakes and rewriting the text out in either your yellow or your green books that you have at home. Okay, now I'm not quite sure which ones I've got right or wrong, so I need you to show me which ones I have spelt incorrectly. Okay, so have a go at that for me, please, Year 4. And the first person who sends in the corrections to me through the Year 4 email address will be getting a Marvellous Me shout out. Okay, so very quickly we're just going to revisit what purpose and audience means. So purpose is the reason why the text has been written. So it might be to entertain, persuade, inform or discuss. And the audience will be the person who will be reading the text, okay? So it could be that you're writing a letter to parents, it could be that you're writing a leaflet for teenagers, it could just be that you're writing a story, it's a story for children, okay? So think very carefully about why the text is being written and the type of audience that you're going to be looking at. Okay, so before I cover question 3, I've just chosen 2 texts from my bookcase, and I'm going to explain to you the purpose and the audience of them, just so you've got a good idea of what I mean. So my first text is a grammar, punctuation and spelling dictionary. Now, this text is informing me of the different rules on how to spell, the rules of grammar. Okay, so it's informing me. And the audience for this would perhaps be for teachers, children, parents, okay, because it's to help you to recognise the different rules around grammar, punctuation and spelling, okay. Now this book is to entertain. So this is J.K. Rowling's new book, The Ichabod, and this one is to entertain. Now, she normally writes books for children, so the audience would typically be children, or they would be readers who enjoy J.K. Rowling's work, okay? So I hope that that makes sense in terms of audience and purpose. Now, for question 3, you have been given styles of writing and then examples of different texts. So it's your job to draw lines to match each text to the most appropriate style of writing. So I've got the 3 styles of writing here. I'm not going to tell you which one you need to link them up to, but I'm going to explain about these different styles of writing, okay? The first one is language that builds suspense and short sentences. So when you use language to build suspense, you're trying to create an atmosphere for the reader. Okay, so you're trying to perhaps make it a little bit eerie or spooky, or the text is going to be a little bit scary, or it's going to be a thriller. And so the sentences are going to be slightly shorter, and the language that's going to be used is going to be things like slowly I walked on the creaky floorboards. All that could be heard was it was that silent that you could hear a pin drop. Okay, so language that allows you to build that suspense that would perhaps scare the reader when something big happens in the story, as well as short snappy sentences that'll create that atmosphere that the author's looking for. Okay, so if your text is going to be written in the first person, you're going to be using pronouns such as I, me, we, us, And your chatty language is that informal language, so you'll have contractions such as don't instead of do not. So it's going to be a little bit more informal. So have a think about what type of text it's going to be. If it's first person and you're using chatty language, it's going to be a little bit more friendlier for the reader, and they might feel as though they've already got a relationship with the author. Okay. And my last one is persuasive language and commands. So commands are things such as you will do this, you must not do that, go here. Okay. And your persuasive language we've already looked at when we were doing our adverts for Until I Met Dudley. So that'll be things like you must buy this item, don't delay, you're going to miss it if you don't pass up on this opportunity, limited edition. Okay, so just thinking about all the different types of persuasive language that we've already looked at, what style of writing is that going to match up to? Okay. And then your second part for question 3 is asking you to consider the features a report would have, looking at the benefits of owning a pet. Okay, so you need to circle 2 options. So if you're writing a report, would you be looking for a serious tone? Would you be looking for jokes in that text? Would you be looking at direct speech? So Miss Prince said you must take care of your dog. Or are you going to be looking for facts and figures? So when I move on to the next slide, I'm going to discuss the different features of a report. Use the next slide to help you to answer this part to question 3, okay? So a report or a non-chronological report is to describe the way that things are. So the report that we would be looking at in this case would be an information leaflet, okay? Because it's a report about owning a pet, isn't it? So it's going to contain a lot of information to inform people about how to look after a pet, okay? So it's going to have an opening. It's going to have a description of their chosen subject. It'll have paragraphs about different aspects of the subject. So it might be buying your first pet, looking after your first pet, the items that your first pet needs, exercise, diet, and then you'll have a conclusion at the end. Language features, it is going to be in the present tense. There will be technical vocabulary relevant to the subject. So if you've got a report on owning a pet, you're not going to be looking at the different ingredients you need to bake a cake. So you aren't going to have things like vocabulary like flour, eggs, water, butter, or blending, are you? Or mixing. Instead, you're going to have technical vocabulary that links to owning a pet. So that might be diet and exercise, love and attention, care, making sure that they've got the correct amount of food, things like going to the vets. Okay, so thinking about the vocab that you will see in that report. Descriptive and factual language, so that's talking about facts and figures. So it's describing the different aspects of owning a pet, and then it perhaps say a statistic like 1 in 5 pet owners said that they don't know where they'd be without their beloved pets. Okay, then you've got your general language, so that's just vocab, language, terminology that you would see in typical texts. And then you've got third person. Okay, so that's going to be third person pronouns that gets used in the report, because then it's not personal to you, because it is a formal text. Okay, so looking at what we've discussed here about non-chronological reports, I want you to go back and circle the 2 options that you think would be features that you would find in a non-chron report. Okay, so the last slide, looking at a non-chronological report, should help you with question 4, because we're looking at extracts that have been taken from a report on the Vikings in Britain. And you need to circle the extract that you think best suits an introduction to a report. So thinking back to the previous slide, if you need to rewind it to revisit any of the content, please do. or even if you just want to pause and read over the features on the non-chronological report slide, that's fine. But knowing what you know, you need to choose the most appropriate report introduction for a report on Vikings in Britain. So the first one is, if you'd like to find out more about the Vikings in Britain, there are several great resources online. Now, straight away I can see a contraction, and I can also see that they're addressing you. So have a think about what pronoun that is, and have a look. Do you think that the word great and you'd, have a think, are they informal or formal examples of language? Okay, moving on to the second one. Around AD 790, ships full of raiding warriors landed on British shores. The Vikings had arrived. So straight away here I can see that it's using terminology, technical vocabulary, such as raiding warriors and AD 790. So I can see straight away there that I've got that technical vocabulary that I would expect to see in a report. Okay, so have a think about which one you think is best suited to an introduction for a report on Vikings in Britain. Okay, in the last part for today's lesson, because we're going to revisit question 5 tomorrow, it says below are 3 other topics to go in the report. Number them 1 to 3 to put them in the most logical order. So you need to think again about the different subjects and the different discussion topics you might expect to see in a report on Vikings. So it's saying, what did the Vikings do while they were in Britain? Why did the Vikings first come to Britain? When and why did the Vikings leave? So you need to put them in the most logical order. Now, if it's a report, it's usually non-chronological, but it needs to be in order that makes sense. So remember how we said about diary entries are non-chronological? That is an informal report of your day, isn't it? So the first thing that you would perhaps talk about would be the things that happened in the morning, then the afternoon, and then the evening. So have a think about what order you might write the journey that the Vikings went on when they first arrived to Britain and why they left. Okay, so have a think, which order do they need to go, and you need to write the numbers 1, 2 and 3 next to them. Okay, so your challenge for today is to list 3 features of a non-chronological report. So if you wanted to rewind the video to revisit the slide where we talk about features of a non-chronological report, you can do, but hopefully the work that you've done today will help you to list at least 3 features, okay? And let's just reflect on today's lesson. Can you write a sentence in 5 words, or using 5 words, telling me what you have learnt today? Okay, so it's going to be a little bit tricky having to summarise it in 5 words, but I want you all to have a go. Okay, and please send in any photographs of your home learning, your challenges and your starters to me, and I can't wait to see what you do. Okay, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.